Hey, welcome back to season two. As you can see, we've got a couple of upgrades here, and I'm settled into my studio at IU. And what do you say, brother? Are we excited for season two?
Incredibly excited with some amazing guests lined up and
Yeah.
some amazing topics that we're going to be talking about. So, thank you so much for all your support during season one. And we are so excited to get started in our second season on Between the Notes podcast.
Yes, sir. And so today we have the wonderful Karen Slack, soprano entrepreneur, who is with us. So we just want to
Diva
say,
Queen.
yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Welcome, Karen.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's so good to see you.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen Weston in ages, and then Brian I just saw last month after having not seen
Yeah.
you for a decade, right?
I'll
Like,
tell you, yeah, I know. When I sent you that Facebook message, I saw the last one that was sent was when we were in Paris, and you're like, "Hey, I'm coming to see your show," and I was like, "I missed it." Because on the days of shows, I usually just turn my phone. I don't look at my phone. I used to not look at my phone because I was like, I don't want any news that's going to throw me off.
mhm.
Sure.
But yeah, no, it was great to reconnect, and we had it was so much fun and a wonderful opportunity to see you and hear you talking. Your keynote speech was wonderful. Your masterclass was inspirational and
And just
amazing and
for the
fun.
group, what was this for? This was in Toronto.
Right. It was the International Congress of Voice Teachers. So it's kind of like the international arm of NATS.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's so cool. I mean, I think one of the greatest things about this industry is, what, Karen, we met in the summer of 2000. And so every once in a while, people just stay in it long enough and you get to circle back around and see those faces again and reunite those friendships. And I think that's
Absolutely.
one of the most amazing parts of this career.
Absolutely. I
Absolutely.
think the first time I had heard Brian, we were competing with at the Zachary. Remember Zachary?
Yes, absolutely. That crazy time. That was amazing. It was
Crazy. So like
after
Weston and I go like
oh,
back 25 years. That's insane. And
yeah.
Brian, it probably was maybe like 20 years. I don't know how long ago that was.
Yeah, it was probably like '09, so something like that.
Oh my
Yeah, yeah,
God.
yeah. Oh
Oh my God.
wow.
I remember you rocking out Di Quella Pira, like just blew the roof. And I said, y'all better give
Well,
that
yeah.
boy some money.
Well, y'all were bringing it, man. Like it's like I remember it was you and me and Angela Mead and a whole
Heavy,
bunch of people, and I was like,
heavy.
okay, so like this is the real deal. I think Angela was singing Costa Diva, both the Aria and Cabaletta, and then Hernani, the Aria and Cabaletta. I was like, okay, I got to bring everything I got for this.
Heavy, heavy. Well, our generation is quite heavy, so I'm not a rush
Yeah.
today. People are like to talk about the old, and I'm like, we were rocking it. So
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, so I was at AVA. I was just finishing AVA, and we have a Philly connection there. Yours runs deeper than mine, but I do have a wonderful love of the city of Philadelphia and the times that I spent there. So tell us a little bit about what it was like to grow up there and how you found your way to music and singing and all that good stuff.
sure, I am as everyone knows, I am a very proud Philadelphian, born and
Uh-huh.
raised in North Philadelphia. If I always sang my whole life. I did not grow up
Mm.
in church because like many singers, I grew up, my parents were very liberal. And
Okay.
so Sunday mornings were spent around the table after my dad worked at overnight. And so in the mornings he'd come home Sunday morning and we would sit around and talk about current events. And
I love that.
yeah, and it wasn't until my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think I might have been about 13 or 14, that
Mm-hmm.
my parents started then going to church pretty regularly at that point. But I often
Mm.
say, growing up, I was a holiday Christian because one of my grandmothers was a Jehovah's Witness and the other one was Baptist. And so during the holidays, I'd go
Right, right.
know, to church with them, but I
Yeah.
I sang my whole life. My parents loved soul music, hip hop. Well, I grew up in the golden era of hip hop, like hip hop, R&B. I grew up with like
Sure.
Stevie Wonder, Shaka Khan, Whitney
Yeah.
Houston. I got to see Michael Jackson, and a couple of times as a kid. And my first
Wow,
concert,
that's amazing.
yeah, my first concert was Earth, Wind and Fire when I was like 3 or 4 years old. So I
Oh,
just
I love it.
I wish I could have had that childhood. That sounds amazing.
Do
Right.
you remember?
Yes, all of those. All of my mom's record collection that she left me is sick. So
Oh, wow.
yeah. So I that's how I grew up. But I always had this big, loud, high voice, and
Yeah.
my music teachers in school always recognized my talent. I played violin in the fourth grade for like 3 months. I hated it. I hated it.
That's a
Didn't like
tough
the
one.
Yeah, I didn't like the practice. But my music teacher, Mr. Hilliard, he recognized that I could match pitches, and then I could, that I had a really strong voice, and I got to lead the Star Spangled Banner in the sixth grade and at
Nice.
graduation. And so I just had a really, back in those days in public schools and most urban cities, major cities had music programs.
Mm-hmm.
And so music and art and all those things were in the 80s were pretty common in schools. So that was sixth grade. And then in middle school, I was hiding that I had this voice from my music teacher. I didn't because I didn't want to sing in the choir. I wanted to be with the cool kids and kind of act like I was. Which now I know that the cool kids are the musicians, but
That's
There you
right.
go.
back then I was like, oh, oh no, I don't do that. So I wanted
I might. Yeah. Go ahead.
and I wanted to be a
Sorry.
veterinarian growing up. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
All
right,
right.
the cool kids, right? So anyway, she heard me singing in the hallway, and she was like, "What? You no, come here! You come here!" And made me join the choir in like the seventh and eighth grade, and pushed me to audition for the Philadelphia High School for Creative and Performing Arts in Philly, big school in Philly, the Fame School in Philly. I mean, I went to school with like the
Sure.
Roots band and Boyz II
Oh,
Men.
wow.
I sang in choir with Boyz II Men with everybody
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
But
incredible.
yeah,
fanboying
I
here.
know.
Sorry,
Yeah,
but like,
totally.
oh my
It's a pretty
gosh.
stacked. I mean, the talent that came out of there is just. I mean, so many people that Jasmine Sullivan who came after
Mm-hmm.
me. But yeah. Anyway, just great artists, great singers. So we all learned opera from our teacher David King. Mr. King
Oh,
was
Okay.
wow.
played opera and classical music. I mean, all the great singers: Björling, Flogstad, Nielsen.
Wow. Yeah.
So he would just play recordings of these people for your high school choir class?
7:30 a.m. every morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so my lineage, my I guess the bar is very high from like a
Sure.
14-year-old, my taste level, and
Right.
play all these and I heard voices and I was like, oh my God, I want to be able to do that. I have to be able to do that someday. But it also was the first time I had heard a voice that sounded similar to mine because I didn't grow up singing the chest voice like gospel. And even when I was sing like soul music, it was always, more head voice because that was just natural for me.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and then of course in the 10th grade, we were the first class that got to sit in the orchestra, the final orchestra rehearsal at the Opera Company of Philadelphia.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Where final rehearsals are normal now. Back then it wasn't as normal, to sit in on those rehearsals. And so I got to see this young, beautiful mezzo soprano named Denise Graves sing Carmen. And it changed my life because I said, "Oh my God, this woman who looks like me and she's up there commanding the stage and singing." I said, I'm gonna do it." And that's when I decided to become an opera to pursue opera as a career.
Do
I
you remember
love it.
what year that was?
It was 1991, I would believe.
So I don't know if this was a co-production with Houston Grand Opera, but the second opera that I ever saw was Carmen with Denise Graves at Houston Grand Opera, and it was in that 90-91 time.
Wow. That's so
That's
cool.
incredible.
Yeah. It was, and that was the beginning of her career. I mean, so many
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
people. When we were in Santa Fe, my first summer in '99 was Jerry Hadley singing Idomeneo, Christine
Oh
Brewer
my
singing
gosh. Wow.
Ariadne of Naxos,
Wow.
a young mezzo soprano singing Carabino, Joyce DiDonato.
Yep.
That I think it might have been the second year. Just like a Christine Gerke, my first year, she was fresh out of the Met program, and so here I am, this
Mm-hmm.
20. I mean, I fast forwarded, from high school, but here
Sure.
my experience to opera was always just so high
Right.
level, and some would call that elitism.
Or well, let's say this. I mean, I think
Generation. cause it.
we sometimes take it for granted, right? Because
Yeah.
we didn't know any better. We were auditioning for the things that our teachers were telling us to audition for, and then we got
Sure.
in. And you're all of a sudden surrounded by these artists who are incredible,
Yeah.
incredible people that we got to share the stage with and rehearsals with.
Absolutely. Cheska
Yeah,
before she
and
was Francesca. Francesca before she
right.
was Cheska. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of part of the environment at AVA is that you're surrounded by these great voices, and we all spent a lot of time practicing. Like it was not like party school. I mean, we had fun on the weekends, but like it was like kind of like when I went to Aspen. It's like, you know, you go have lunch with people, and you're like, hey, what are you up to? I'm gonna go practice for 2 hours. All right, cool. Call me after that.
Right.
Whereas in undergrad for me at Loyola, which was a wonderful place, it just was, we didn't have that atmosphere. And I think that, you know, what you're speaking to is an atmosphere of people that really are passionate and love doing what they do and hold themselves to a high standard. And that's how, and you were there because you're one of them, not just because, you know, you just happen to be in that and you earned that. And, I don't know. I think it's fun to kind of like, you know, be in that, you know, let's go running. Let's see how fast we can run. Okay. Your stamina's this, you know, it's just, it's a healthy competition that I think just, you know, encourages us to be better than we were yesterday.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I
totally.
remember being like in high school and I was taking voice lessons because the school district of Philadelphia paid for me to have voice lessons and piano lessons
Mm.
and like 11th and 12th grade. So my teacher, Mr. King, it was a few of us who showed a lot of potential and actually seriousness in wanting to study classical music. So he advocated for us to have voice lessons paid for. And I
That's great.
would pull off the shelf. I would Santuzza, Aida, all of these because remember I started like 7 a.m.
Right.
listening to all these great singers, and she was like, "Little girl,
How about some Caro Mio
like,
Band?
Yeah,
right?
right.
You see this
Too
big
low
yellow
side.
book here? Go, you know."
Yeah,
Right, right.
I wanted to be Collis, and I wanted to be both of the prices, and you know what I mean. Like it
Unbelievable.
Right.
sound
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Nielsen.
yeah.
Like it was just a different. And like you said, Brian, you know, you didn't. You didn't have. They had to hold me back.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just once I found this incredible thing called opera, I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like you didn't, you know, I had to be held back. I was always wanted to go fast, but never for ego, only because of my
Sure.
passion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's a beautiful art form and it's fun to do.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it physically feels good when you're singing in a healthy and free and released
Yeah.
manner. You're taking in all this air and there's endorphins going and you're singing this gorgeous melodies and thinking about being on stage and in costumes and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's wonderful. I remember when I got to college, and I was going for voice, but up to that point, I'd really been a pianist. But like I gained such a confidence that kind of changed my whole personality. Like I would have said I was an introvert before, especially in school. Like I just kind of sit in the back and like, even if they, you know, asked me a question, I'd be like, I think it's, yeah, I just didn't have the confidence that singing gave me. And then I kind of, you know, I still think of myself probably as an extroverted introvert, but you know, as a singer we have to like at least develop that skill, you know, and charisma to be able captivating on stage, you know. But I mean, it's just I just was thinking about, because you know, New Orleans obviously is also such a musical city, and I went to an arts high school for piano, and like I just think that, you know, Philly and New Orleans and New York and all these places, like if we could just convince people that arts education is so worth it, we would be finding these kinds of schools, you know, and let's have 30 more of them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
You know, and even if if people don't become singers or musicians full time, I know what music and what singing did for me, and I would love for everybody to have an opportunity like that. And it's music teachers and school districts and schools that support um you know, people studying music and having bands and orchestras and choirs and all and musicals and all this stuff that make it happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I didn't even realize that I had a voice until my choir director, who is now my stepdad, because my mom was the assistant choir director and he was the head choir director, and at some point they decided they loved each other, and so anyway, he pulled me outside of choir class one time because I'm sure I was talking or messing around or something, and he kind of threw me up against a wall, and he goes, "If you would pay attention and actually focus on your singing, you might realize that you could do something with that instrument of yours." And I was like,
Okay.
"What? What do you mean?" You know, and he's like, "You really have a great voice." And it's like, until you don't really know until somebody
Yeah.
makes you become aware of it. I mean, yeah, it's fun to do, but you know. And then I
Sure.
remember auditioning for schools, and then I ended up going to a very small private liberal arts university for my undergrad. And that first semester, it just happened to be that the man who was the tenure track voice professor and who ran the opera theater program, a man by the name of Gerald Dolter, um, had a career himself, and he was married with 2 children, and so they decided to raise their children back in America, and so that's however he landed from having this career over in Europe, back in this little town of Georgetown, Texas, and so he decided to run this little 1,100 students private liberal arts school like it was some kind of German fest house or something. And so he was like, "We're doing this many operas." So we started off with The Marriage of Figaro, and he cast me in the title role as Figaro when I was 18,
Oh,
and I was like, "What?" And I remember that excitement, and like you're saying, Brian, like this, like, "Oh, okay, well, oh my God, okay, what do I need to do in order to do this?" And oh my God, the amount of times I went into a studio crying, saying, "I can't learn all the the
Yes,
big old thick
yes.
score,"
Like butterflies,
But I will
right?
say,
You never
you
stop.
you come through these experiences on the other side, and you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, I did this," and then that gives you the courage and the confidence to move forward, and in so many different fields, not just in singing, but like gives
Yeah.
you confidence as a human, and I think
Right.
not enough talk maybe is about that, of how incredibly important these different, I don't know, what am I trying to say? These different
Yeah.
like moments in life can help a young singer or pianist or violinist or whatever, um, have these moments that then just launch you into this next level. It's so cool. But I wanted to ask you, Karen. So having that kind of experience in your high school, was there any other choice but then to go to your undergraduate in Philadelphia, stay at home, or did you audition for a bunch of different other places?
Well, I auditioned and I wanted to go to Oberlin. That was my dream school. Did not get
Mm-hmm.
in.
Mm.
Never thought about going to Juilliard. Like I had auditioned in all these places. I wind up at the University of Hartford, the Hart School of Music.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes, because my dear friend Kenneth Overton, baritone, who used to study.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I went to high school with Kenny. So
Okay.
yeah. So Kenny was at the University of North Carolina School of Arts. That's where he went to school. And
Oh,
he studied
sure.
with the Fritz Moses, who was a fantastic teacher. He had sung in Europe, mostly concert work and everything. So he had several Met winners back in the day. Tashina Vaughn, who of course went on to legendary, mezzo soprano, and Derek.
My colleague here at IU, absolutely love Tashina.
Exactly, yes.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
Fritz
she's here.
Fritz had a heavy studio, and then he had switched from North Carolina to University of Hartford. And so when I was graduating high school, I decided to go then to study with my friend's teacher, and because I didn't get into many schools, I have to say my solfege music skills were not as strong as my talent, as my gift.
Mm.
I
Mm.
struggled a lot with theory and music because I struggled a lot as a kid with math and reading when I was a little kid. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of that, it's funny, I can memorize and learn a whole opera score and languages and all of the things that I've been able to do in my career. But, it was always a struggle for me, in
Yeah.
other aspects of my life. So anyway, so I didn't test very high. And so I didn't get into those other schools that I wanted to go into. But went to Hartford, didn't get a big scholarship. So I needed money to go back to school the next year. And I saw this poster on the board for the Rosa Ponselle International Competition for the Vocal Arts. In New York
All
City, there
right.
was this big week-long competition held at Alice Tully Hall, and all I saw was $50,000. I was like, didn't know who Rosa Ponselle was at all. And so I was like, well, maybe if I win a couple thou, it
Sure.
would help me go back to school. And so I learned all these arias and all the stuff that I needed for the competition. Fast forward that summer, I won. I won the whole thing at 18 years
That's
old.
amazing. Go
Oh my
ahead.
God.
Yeah.
Well, rather appropriate for the namesake of the competition, right? Didn't she make her debut at like 17 or 18?
Yeah,
22.
with
That's when we
Caruso.
met. Yeah, with
Yeah,
Enrico
Forza
Caruso.
Destino. Yeah.
Well,
Right.
exactly, because
Yeah.
they were looking for the natural Poncel. So, like, yeah. But
I
There
love
you
it.
go.
remember, I had this big, loud, I pretty much had the same voice my whole life, I have to say. And
Mhm.
like, I mean, not
Wow.
that my voice is so big and massive. That's not what I mean. You know, when I'm saying that, like
Right.
the second.
A
No,
mature
no.
voice for a young person. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And Weston's known me since I was, 22. I probably always
You could sing. You could sing.
right.
I remember your Tatiana scene from the summer in Santa Fe. I remember going, who is that? Like it's legit.
I was 22.
Yeah.
22.
Wow.
So I've always had my gift. I always call it my gift because I don't,
Sure.
And so I won. I moved to New York, studied privately with Maestro Chichagov, who was Rosa Poncel's coach and old school. He used to wear the little white gloves. He
Oh,
would
wow.
play
Oh,
every
wow.
opera by hand, by heart. So he
Oh,
taught
wow.
me Bohème, Mimi. He
Mm.
taught me Liu. He taught me Michaela, and every single aria that I ever learned early, Aida, and all the big stuff, Adriana Lecouvreur,
Yeah.
all by
Wow.
memory. He taught me for 2 years. He taught me how to trill, how to sing pianissimo on my voice. I'm like 18, 19 years old. So I
Wow.
had a very old school training
Yeah.
in the beginning. And I was supposed to make my big debut at Alice Tully Hall in a recital at 21. We're following the track.
Mhm.
And I was sitting in the offices at Cami when Karen Ashley and Kim Benson had the same they had this, they were agents together. And
Right.
Karen's
Mm.
telling me, you're going to sing this in Berlin, you're going to do this here, you're going to sing Pamina here, you're going to do all of these things. And I'm like, I don't
Wow.
even know what you're talking about, lady. They are not teaching me how to sing Mozart. Like like, the big girl stuff. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, what is she saying to me? And I
Oh, wow.
then went back and told Mrs. Duke, the person who ran the competition, I said, I don't think I'm ready for a career. And I don't think I'm
Mhm.
ready. And so she kicks me out of the program.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow.
She kicks me out of the program, sends me packing back to Philadelphia. I'm like
Wow.
21 at this point, 22, whatever. I don't know what I'm going to do
Yeah.
because I left school.
Right.
So you had left the Hart School of Music to go do the intensive New York City studies through the Rosa Poncel Institute or whatever.
Mhm.
And then you said, I don't think I'm ready. And she's like, fine, then get out.
Yeah, that's exactly
That is
Unbelievable.
crazy.
Unbelievable.
right. And
So you go back home.
I go back home. My parents are like, okay, because I don't have to figure out what I'm going to do. Am I going to go back to Hart? Am I going to, whatever? I'm sitting in the Wendy's restaurant in Philly,
As you do.
as you do. I'm sitting downtown Philly thinking, like, what am I going to do? And these 3 kids come up to me, 3 young people about the same age, and says, you are the girl who won the competition, that big competition, because I was in Opera News for
Right.
Right.
competition. And I'm like, yeah.
An opera singer getting noticed out in the wild is a pretty amazing thing.
I know, you're like,
Yeah.
"Really?" Like what? And so they said, we go to Curtis. We're students at Curtis. And I was like, well, what's Curtis? Did not even know what Curtis was because
Wow.
those are institutions that if you know, even though I
Right.
trained in the city, even though I was training to be an opera singer, I did not know.
Yeah.
And so they
Right.
take me back to Curtis and we're like rocking out as young people do. Somebody plays
Right.
and you sing all the hits that and they told Michael Eliason, who ran the opera department at Curtis, about me. They said, that girl lives here in Philly. And we met her. And Michael called me on the phone the next day and invited me to audition for Curtis. And that's how I got into Curtis.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
That's so cool. I had no idea about that whole story. That's
I know
amazing.
everyone's like, Karen, you need to write a book. I'm like, oh my, not yet. Not yet. But again, like in our industry,
Oh, man.
so many of us have stories and we don't get to
Yeah.
hear them because people just want to know. They only care about this,
Right.
like at the moment. And they always try to like discount all of the accomplishments that you have. Like, no, like I was just thinking about that this morning. I was
Mm.
thinking about feeling like I'm in the moment right now where I am doing so many wonderful things in my career, but at the same time, I'm feeling on my opera side, I'm having to start over again. It is as if
Mm,
everything that I had accomplished before, singing at the Met last minute, going on, like all of these things that I
right.
have already done, feeling like I have to like start over or compete with a kid who was in fucking elementary school when I was like
Right.
up there
Absolutely.
singing with James Morris and
Yes.
and all of these people and held on my own on stage with Dolores Zajic at Carnegie Hall. Like, are you kidding me right
Amazing.
now?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And all of the other things that I have been through. Like when I was 21 years old, these people couldn't even fucking sing. Excuse my language. I curse.
That's okay.
They
I
couldn't even
love it.
string 5 notes together in tune and
Yes.
undergrad. And
Yes.
I was on the stage. I was telling y'all, don't tell me that I have to
Yeah.
start over again. But you can't say things like that, right? You can't
Of course.
out
No.
loud. But it's very
Absolutely.
frustrating.
I
Yeah.
think it's so incredibly important for people to not only know the peaks, but also to understand the valleys
Mhm.
within everyone that's been in this industry. And so it's so wonderful that you are vulnerable enough to share these moments of like,
Yeah. Thank
yeah,
you.
she kicked
Absolutely.
me out and then I didn't know what to do. And then, it's like, that's great. I mean, so many young singers, I think, have those experiences and then think that they should quit or give up or whatever.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And they don't realize that, like, no, 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 no. We have all been through those moments of disappointment and fear and what's next and how are we going to put this together to make a living or whatever it might
Yeah.
be in whatever stage you're in.
Mm. Yeah,
I think we
listen.
just came up. Yeah. Go ahead, Karen.
Oh, no,
Sorry.
when I was okay, so I graduated Adler Fellowship December 2004. That's the Young Artist Program for those who don't know for San Francisco Opera. So I went to Santa
Right.
Fe, went back to Curtis, graduated, went to Maryland, became an Adler Fellow, right? That's how you do it.
Hmm.
And I was in the Met competition, did not I was in the finals, didn't win. I thought my whole life was over because, of course you feel like you don't win the Met competition, you feel like you're never gonna sing, right?
Me too. Same
Sure.
thing.
Right.
Finalist, not a winner.
Not a
Finalist, not a
winner.
winner.
Right.
Nah,
Shout out to
womp
the
womp.
finalists. Okay. Like,
Yes, let's do it.
listen.
I love it, baby. I love
I
it.
was a
Yes.
district winner.
And you probably singing more, have sung, your resume probably is more stacked than a lot of people who have won, who have unfortunately
Absolutely.
maybe not go.
Well, it just goes to show again, like, what do these things mean? Sometimes
Yeah.
they mean a lot, sometimes they mean nothing.
Right.
So
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's just all just a journey, right? So
Yeah.
okay, so I needed money to go do a European tour, and of course, you make it to a certain point at the Met competition, and then you can go back and audition for
Mhm.
monies,
money.
right?
Right.
So I did the audition, and they were like, "Whoa!" Then they wanted to ask me all these questions about what happened in the finals. I'm like, "Child, I don't know. Like, y'all pick somebody else. Like, what do you mean what happened? Like, So, but they're like, "Well,
Right.
can you come and do a stage audition in 6 months?" So went to do a stage audition 6 months later. They offered me the cover of Louisa Miller.
Oh my
Now, a
gosh.
little
Wow. Yeah.
tidbit to that, I was prepared to sing Hernani and Volami in the finals. They
Uh-huh.
made me switch my arias to do either Depuis le jour, I think I said Depuis le jour and like Kilbas.
Uh-huh.
But I was
Yeah.
ready with my heavy hitters, and they did not allow me to sing it in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
I can
There you
see they
go.
now on this side. But anyway, so then when they asked me what happened, and then I went and I sang Hernani, and y'all give me Louisa Miller. Okay. Okay. So,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
soprano gets sick. I go on and, make my Met debut and may do the broadcast or whatever. I mean, the
Amazing.
Sirius XM radio
Yeah.
internet
Yeah.
broadcast, all those things. And that's 2006, 7, the career. I'm like, yeah, I'm in it now. I'm doing it, right? Like,
Right. Right. Right.
I got this stuff. 2008, housing crisis, tank, lose all my work.
Right.
And it's like
Oh
very much like
man.
pandemic. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, there's no money," and everything shut down. So all this work that
Right.
I had, all this stuff that I had, I lost, and I turned
Mm.
down 2 Fest contracts to sing to have this career. I got
Right.
a Fest in Vienna and Munich, turned them
Oh,
both
wow.
down because I was working,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
then I lost everything, and I had to build myself all the way back because once things opened up again, people forget the shit that you did before. May
Right.
Plus, maybe not everybody, and so I had to start over again. So around 2000,
Well, yeah. It's like it's convenient for them to forget so they can put you in your place and pay you less money.
yeah,
It's not
Sure.
it's not the reality. It just is like, the kind of like not great side of the business part.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I don't shy away from telling this, because that's not only is it just a story that inspires other people, but it's also my
Right.
truth. Like Wes said earlier,
Sure.
if you stay in it long enough, if you just stay
Hmm.
in it long enough, and that's the hardest part. Two
Yeah.
things. The hardest
Yeah.
part is staying in it long enough, but the hardest part is also, continuing to pour into yourself and believing that you do have a place and you do have something to share. You do have something to offer, to the industry. And sometimes that's
Absolutely.
just not enough to keep
That's right.
Yeah.
doing it.
Yep.
Right.
Talk about reinventing oneself. I remember when I first started, I had a manager who told me that I needed to wear my prosthesis all the time for everything, no matter what, every audition, every performance. I remember singing a performance of Sharpless and Butterfly with Toledo Opera, and Opera News came to review it, and it said something like, despite his own physical difference, he has no right hand. Weston Hurt sang the role of Sharpless with beautiful legato, whatever.
Oh man.
And so it was like, well, we don't want that. And I remember, always feeling so, everyone tells you to be authentic and tell your story and be, share yourself with the audience, right? Well, here I am wearing a mask the whole time, with
Right.
this thing. And it wasn't until I finally, I guess it was really the first time I ever sang Rigoletto was only 11, 12 years ago. And I was like, well, I'm not going to sing Rigoletto with my prosthesis. I think that sounds crazy. So I feel like this man has all kinds of things going on. And it was the most freeing and the most amazingly receptive, it was just like,
Yeah.
okay. And it's just amazing. And then I think I mentioned this a little earlier, but I was in London last year, and I got to go see a performance of a friend of mine where I finally, for the first time in my career and life, saw myself represented on stage with a performer in Hadestown in
Mm.
the West End, who had a limb difference exactly like mine. And she was in no way trying to hide it, and in fact, utilizing it as part of her character. And I just find it to be so incredibly important for people to see themselves represented on stage and for people to understand that we are all human beings with our own stories. And so all we can do is try to share not only the gift, but ourselves with the audience through these, roles that we get to inhabit for this moment in time.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So speaking of, talk a little bit about your African Queens concert that you've been touring around with. And you've got performances tomorrow, right?
Yes.
And Sunday?
Yes, tomorrow and Sunday at Portland Opera, which will be the West Coast premiere of African Queens.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
it'll be fun. Hopefully, people come out. It's people see the title and then they see the visual that I added to it, and it's like, whoa. Some people are particularly in this time. I don't want to go into all of the stuff, all of the
Mm.
politics of everything. Although I never shy away from any conversation around those
Sure.
things.
Sure.
Typically, as an artist, I think we should be leading
Yeah.
conversations like that. But
Absolutely.
I think this push to go back to like just what we we all feel comfortable with versus things that push you outside of the box. And I think
Yeah.
that institutions don't really believe in their audience's brilliance. So that's a
Hmm.
whole other
Yeah.
conversation. But African
Sure.
Queens was born, she was manifested many years ago. It was just out of the desire and the need to be able to sing roles and sing stories that I felt inspired by. As I built my career back up from my mighty rise in my, all the things, I was doing a lot of new pieces, new works, creating new
Hmm.
operas and new and commissioning composers, which is something that I did secretly that I wasn't, that I did as I was doing my opera career. And then finally, because of pandemic, I was able to do in a more amplified way. Um, I was tired of singing stories where I was someone's wife or their daughter or their, lover or some woman that, was some wayward woman or whatever. And so I wanted to sing strong women's stories. And I started to do research based off of the Aba Women's War of Nigeria, 1921. That was the first big project that I was thinking of doing. And I started to find all these stones and these seeds of stories throughout history. And I said, oh my gosh, African Queens, like this, it's extraordinary. And so during the pandemic, I knew that opera was not going to come back sooner than the concert and chamber music space. So I went and got a concert agent. And I know it's kind of crazy to even think about that. But again, like the recital and chamber music things that I was doing secretly, because you couldn't say that I couldn't say that I had all these other passions and desires. You know, we came through a time where you could only be an opera singer, especially if you had
Sure.
a certain
Yeah.
kind of voice. It's like, no, you
Right.
Hmm.
needed to be focused on Verdi and Puccini and Mozart. What do you mean you want to
Right.
sing with a string quartet? Like,
Right.
right? You know, and unless you had a specific weight of voice. For
Yeah.
Right.
us,
Right.
if you tell somebody, "Oh, I desire to tour," now, and everybody does it now because people got to pay their bills, and you know, all these.
Right.
Everybody has so many ideas and concepts, but we couldn't. When we came through, you couldn't say that. You
No,
know,
you're
Right.
absolutely right.
right? So, anyway, I pitched the idea of this evening of song to my managers when I was doing Kiki Conversations when Justin
Hmm.
was on, and everyone keeps saying, "You
Right.
need to
Mhm.
bring it back on. You need to bring the show back on." But anyway, I did a panel discussion with 7 young African American composers, and Terrence Blanchard moderated for me.
Oh my
And
gosh!
so
Wow.
Amazing.
after that episode, they became a group, Blacknificent Seven. I say they are the
Okay.
Wu-Tang Clan of opera because everybody's got their superpower, you know, like the Wu. And so,
Yeah.
I love it.
yes. And so they wanted to write a piece for me as a thank you. And I said, I have a better idea. I have this concept that I want to do. And so that's kind of how African Queens was born. Each composer chose their own queen, and they went and they were supposed to write a song cycle, but they wound up writing a Grand Shayna. So it's a very big
Wow.
evening of song. It has spoken word in it, 7 new pieces. Actually, Will Liverman wrote a piece for me as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
I needed some more to like kind of a respite between these big songs. And so I knew that he was starting to compose. And so I reached out to my buddy and was like, "So can you write me a song, you know, to go on the project?" And he was like, "Absolutely, absolutely." And he wrote a beautiful, beautiful piece. And so it's a dynamic evening of song. It represents very much the modern concert space, but also very operatic in scope because I do not compromise my voice at any
Hmm.
I sing. I mean, it's high C's in there, low A's.
Yeah.
I'm like singing trestles
Wow.
and then spinning pianissimos. Like it is a real yeah, I'm singing.
That sounds amazing.
I love it. I hope I can catch it at some point.
I
Or
hope
Likewise.
so.
yeah, you make guys make a DVD, or what? Do we
Yeah, I
even
was
do
just gonna say that
DVDs
sounds like
anymore?
it.
You know,
Exactly.
some stream it somewhere. I mean, it just sounds amazing project. And also, I just want to say that I've been a Terrence Blanchard fan, being from
Right.
New Orleans and a
No,
trumpet player for a long time. But
yeah.
when he got into opera, I was like, what is he doing? And then I was like, this is amazing. But I knew him as a film composer and a trumpet player, and all of his jazz albums.
Yes.
I just love it. You know, and it just was so. I don't know. I didn't know what to say. I'm like, literally at this moment, I'm like, yeah, you know him, and that's cool. I remember I walked in. I was shopping for Christmas presents a couple of years back, and he was in the store, and I was like, that's Terrence Blanchard. That's Terrence Blanchard. And my girlfriend at the time was like, who is that? I was like, that dude. I played that CD for you. Like, that's him. Played the trumpet player. She was like, well, just go say hi. I was like, no, I can't do that. And so sure enough, I did. I went over there and I was just like, Mr. Blanchard, I'm a huge fan, trumpet player, nothing like you, obviously, but I just wanted to, you know, say hi. And he was so gracious.
Yes.
And then I love it. I actually was going to the car. He was pulling out in his Porsche convertible, like going. I was like, and I gave him a wave, and he gave me a honk. I was like, man, he's a real good guy, you know?
Yeah. He's one of the good
Yeah.
ones. He's a great guy.
Talking about
Absolutely.
all of the different ideas, especially how you brought together this African Queens concert with these composers. I mean, how can we all help sort of move this industry in the right direction moving forward? And I mean, what kind of work do we need to do, and will it ever be done? And what do you think right now needs to be the focus? I mean, not only for young singers, but everybody. How can we do our part?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I tell younger singers is that please know that in the future, the people who are the tastemakers and running it will not be those people. They will be you.
Mm,
Right? And so the sooner that you can
yeah.
understand that this is your art form and to have ownership of it and to feel more agency in it and responsibility wherever you land, if it is center stage, down front center stage, if it is back in the offices, if it is in the audience,
Mm.
wherever you land, you must
Yeah.
have ownership of it. It is not a thing that happens outside of you, that happens through you. That's how we got to this industry, but through our hearts, right?
Mhm.
Exactly.
So right, so I always encourage them. That'll be, maybe it's esoteric to some people, and some of them don't get it, and some of them do get it, But the sooner they do, the better for all of us. That's what I tell the young singers. For those of us who are like mid OGs, again, those of us who are still singing and doing things and running shit and teaching the babies how to do the stuff,
Yeah.
I say it's the same thing. It's about having the agency. It's not happening for you, right? It's happening
Mhm.
through you. It's still, the idea that there's only one way to do it is dead, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we are running a non-for-profit on a non-for-profit model for a surely profit industry, like there's somebody should have killed that a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am,
Yeah.
I'm not the blow it up type of person, because if you blow it up, how are you even going to attempt to? They
Build
haven't
it.
even taught you the tools to be able to know how. They haven't given you the tools or taught you the things that you need to know in order to build anything,
Right.
right?
Wow. I mean, that's a whole episode right there. Just as last two sentences you said, that's amazing, Karen.
It's
Yeah.
a whole other thing. And so we love opera. We love classical music. This idea that orchestra, chamber music, opera are all separate things, to me is absolutely ridiculous. So I say, I buck that. If through my whole entire career, I've always been somebody who pushed up against that. But I think that we need to be we need to understand that the success of this art form will not come through the way it's always been. It will
Mhm.
come through welcoming other people, new people who also are passionate about what we do, because there are people who want to play in the sandbox with opera. They just don't
Yeah.
know how to get in, or they
Sure.
feel unwelcomed, or they feel like, oh, it is this elite, this very elite,
Right.
echelon art form. And I had to tell somebody yesterday, I said, most people who come into opera, who are opera singers, don't come from incredible wealth,
Yeah.
don't come from
Absolutely.
Very few.
Yeah.
right, they don't come from the some of the places that we have had to serve, some of the people that we have had to serve through our industry. Like, it is not the
Yeah.
same thing. And so look at Terrence. Fire Sharpen My Bones pretty much saved the Met.
Mhm.
Pretty, like,
Absolutely.
it totally did. Like, not Umbalo e Maschera, not Rigoletto, not
Yeah.
Right.
Aida. It was Fire Sharpen My Bones, because there were
Yep.
so many people who were not opera people, but who love opera. There's so many people
Yeah.
who knew Terrence and knew Charles Blow and all the things that they sold out those things. That's the model. I'm not saying it has to be just Black art. That's not what I'm saying. But it is
No. Of course.
model of bringing all people to the table is what's going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
save this industry. Knowing that it's okay to sit next to somebody who looks nothing like you, who doesn't come
Sure.
from any of your background, and being like, we are
Mhm.
experiencing this thing together.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the perfect example where you say, well, it gets almost cliche that art builds bridges and art brings people together, but that is a concrete example of how and why it happens.
Yep.
Yep.
And how it can happen and how it needs to happen more and as much as possible. I mean, just learning, getting back to the teaching and the music teachers, I can't even imagine what my life would be like had I not learned to start thinking and living in an artistic manner. I feel like, yeah, my highs are really high, my lows are really low, but I have a very fulfilling, and I stop and smell the roses as much as I can. And music and art and opera in particular has taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
And I can't. Yeah, I don't even know. Sometimes I don't even know what to say. Like, to think that there are other people that don't think about their life and their choices and their actions in that way,
Absolutely.
because they're missing so much of what life has to offer.
The
Absolutely.
water's warm. Come jump in,
Don't
because it's
jump in.
good.
Okay, so for example, quickly, so I
Yeah.
got an email 3 days ago from this
Uh-huh.
man, who there's no subject in the the heading or whatever, and I'm like, what is this? This is
Okay.
probably one of the somebody who saw me saying something or whatever, and they're like,
Right.
and so he basically invites me to do a recital at this church that he says he has hosted all of these choirs and all these things. So he was a retired business professor at one of the large schools, whatever. I don't want to say his his thing. And so
Yeah,
he said
sure.
he bought this church for $1 million outside in the
Okay.
suburbs of Chicago. He bought the church for $1 million,
Right.
and he hasn't really opened it yet, but he hosts concerts to for artists that he invites them to come in. And I
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I said, let me Google this person. He is a real person. And I
Okay. Right. Like, is this real?
he is who he says he is. But then the next
Mm-hmm.
question is like, okay, if he bought this church for $1 million, it's not even a functioning opening church necessarily. He just has it.
Right.
What is this? Why isn't he donating to the opera, the symphony, or any other arts organization? This man is literally created a concert series,
Yeah. Wow.
right? Obviously, he's in
Amazing.
the business world. He's not a musician, but why? What is it about the lack of out of reach in these companies
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah.
man, whatever is in the change in his pocket
Right.
could be
Life changing.
right, for a small or arts organization. And I just go, see, this is what I'm talking about in this
Yeah.
industry where people are afraid to. Now, I didn't know this man, but he reached out to me. He knew who I was,
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
and so and I just go, this is what I'm telling our people out there who want to be a part of the thing that we're doing. You cannot be afraid to go, hey, I work for so and so. Hey, I sing this, and this art form is extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to sell it, you share it. And I just think people are afraid in these marketing departments, these development departments,
Right.
especially
Right.
in the grand old opera houses. They don't know. They're afraid to go into a church.
Yeah.
You cannot. Community, civic engagement, gets such a bad name. But I'm like, where do you think your audience is? It's the
Right.
community.
Right.
You're
Absolutely.
never going to be able to change that. I don't care how much you don't like it. That's the reality of the matter.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like what you're saying, the funds are out there. People have the funds.
Yes.
And some people are very generous with it if they feel like they believe in the mission of the institution or the way that the institution is being led.
Sure.
All these kinds of things that I, having worked in development, especially at AVA and all this kind of stuff, like there are people who have the funds and they want to, and they're generous people, or else they wouldn't be supporting anyway.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to earn their trust a little bit, and that can be tricky,
Mhm.
right? And it also can be, certain people want to write a check and they hope that is, they don't want to just underwrite the production, they want to underwrite this title
Yes.
and this singer,
Mhm.
and that can get a little dicey.
Absolutely.
But anyway, that's probably a whole nother episode. But
Yeah,
this
sure.
this has been amazing,
Bring me
Karen.
back.
I mean, like,
Bring
I
me back
just
for part 2. We could talk about all the other things.
100%.
love it.
Yes. We'd
I
love
would
it.
love it. Maybe we'll start the season with you and we'll end the season with you, and you'll have like, all this experience from African Queens and tours and stuff. And like, I love it so much. I can't thank you enough, Karen. And I wish you toy for tomorrow and the weekend. And yeah, this is so awesome.
Thank you. That's so wonderful to share this time with you guys. And
Likewise.
yeah,
Likewise.
until next time.
Thanks so much for joining us on Season 2 of Between the Notes podcast. Please remember to like and subscribe to our videos, and we will see you next time.